Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my review of Spider-Man 2. In this review, I will be answering the important question that we all have on our minds, that we have on the title of this video. Should you play Marvel Spider-Man 2? Now, before I go any further, do not worry. This review is spoiler-free. I will just be discussing what I enjoyed about the game so far, and I'll be using some of the footage from my actual playthrough, which you can find on my channel. I will link it in the description below, but you can just find it on my live tab, and I'll just be using gameplay from that, and all of that is going to be spoiler-free. It's just going to be cutscenes and promotional material that's already been used by Insomniac games, and anything that's been put out in the trailers. I will use like some of that footage from my gameplay, but I'm not going to put any story spoilers. Nothing like that. This is just going to be a blind review of what I've enjoyed so far of the game, the pros, cons, and yeah, just breaking down my experience so far with Marvel Spider-Man 2.
We have to talk. This is something else. I need your help.
Are you sure this isn't something you can handle yourself?
I'm sure.
Now, where do I actually begin? Because first of all, I just want to give Insomniac Games their flowers. I want to give them their round of applause, a moment of silence if I could, but I don't want to make this video too long, so I will just give them a little bit of applause in editing. But once again, they have another successful launch, another amazing game. And again, these dudes are on a roll. I haven't seen a run like this in years. I even mentioned this in the Gamer2323's YouTube channel. I mentioned that I compare Insomniac Games' run to J. Cole's Feature run, for anyone who listens to rap out there. Because basically everything that Insomniac is touching right now, it's just a hit. They genuinely do not miss. Like, it's actually insane. And I just laugh about it because their consistency has come to a level where they're able to produce banger after banger, year after year, and they're not taking like the prolonged development time that other studios may need, which is very surprising because even for me, I would expect them to take a break, like take 2 years, take 3 years here and there, but like rather than taking breaks in between major releases, they basically release smaller titles in between, like we saw with them releasing Miles Morales in between the cycle of Spider-Man 2018 and Marvel Spider-Man 2 that just came out. And within that, they also still released Ratchet & Clank mainline title. So goddamn, like, just nothing but love for everyone over at the team at Insomniac Games. Now, Spider-Man 2 not only met, but it also surpassed my expectations. And personally, I think this game is a gift to all Spider-Man fans. It's a gift to all gamers and all those who love superhero games in general. And for me, that's a strong statement because I'm not someone who loves superhero games that much. You've heard me on this channel criticize every single goddamn live service game that's tied to superhero IP, whether it's Gotham Knights, whether it's Avengers, whether basically any of those titles. Once they become live service, I absolutely hate them, and I feel like that's something that's held back the superhero genre for so long in gaming, because the studios that are just making live service games are the studios that are getting all this IP licensed out to them. Whereas whenever we get some story related games, whether it's Spider-Man, whether it's the Batman Arkham games, we've seen that there's so many studios that actually know what they're doing once you just let them do story games. Whereas so many companies right now are obsessed with just having live service and games as a service type titles. So every time superhero IP comes on the menu, we end up having that, and that's what it's looking like for the upcoming Suicide Squad game, unfortunately. So anytime, whether it's the Batman Arkham games or whether it's, again, Insomniac Spider-Man games, I will give them their flowers, I will give them their praise, because they're still being able to hold it down and give us high quality in gaming without having to resort to just scummy microtransactions and, you know, making something live service for the sake of it so you can have a constant cash cow. But yeah, that's a battle for another day. That's not for this video. So again, just like I was saying, Insomniac Games killed it. They basically gave us what we wanted. I don't think I could have asked for a better sequel than this. Every moment of the story felt like a page from the comic book. Every moment had meaning. Even some of the side missions and it's unfortunate because I actually played some of the side missions off stream, off of my walkthrough, and so that footage is not going to be in my walkthrough, but there were so many touching side missions, and even though a few of them became repetitive, they added enough meaningful side missions for me for it to not feel, bloated. And I like that the main story isn't too long as well. The main story is about 17 hours in total, because for example, I'm already on 30 plus hours of playthrough, but I think I'm only halfway through the game because I'm only halfway through the main story, but I've done so much of like the side quests off stream. But again, starting off with the story. So the story is a high point for me. It's engaging, it's emotional, and full of surprises. The character development and interactions are top notch, and it genuinely feels like a Spider-Man comic come to life. And the addition of Venom as a central character was a stroke of genius from Insomniac Games. Now, if you loved the first game, I think you're going to love this one even more. And just a tip, if you really want to enjoy the combat, play it on Spectacular, probably. Because again, I started off my playthrough on Amazing. It was difficult for me at the beginning, getting used to the gameplay again, because it had been a while since I played Miles Morales and played the original Spider-Man. But once I got the hang of the gameplay, I felt myself wanting to turn the level up because the enemies became, they became a little too easy as I progressed. So that's where I would say that you could start off on Amazing and then level up. Once you get to a comfortable level with the gameplay, I would suggest leveling up because it'll become that much more challenging, and the difficulty will just, require a bit of skill in order to stay alive on some of the tougher places. But again, notably, the game is not afraid to throw you into a fast-paced fight with a ton of strong enemies right away, so be prepared for that. Now, although it does get quite overwhelming when hordes of enemies attack aggressively, but I think most gamers are able to handle that. Now, onto the key points of the story for me. I think the story was phenomenal because it basically answered all the questions from the previous titles. It all made sense, and the new villain was interesting. Again, so many new villains are introduced to this game, but they're all part of the Spider-Man universe. Each villain gets their respected story. A lot of events happen in this game, and most of it focuses on Peter, and then some of it focuses on Miles. Although, again, this is fair because Miles Morales had his own spin-off game, so again, we would expect at least 60% of this game to be focused on Peter's story. So all in all, Insomniac Games meshed the duo together to bring a fun, serious, action-packed game that covers all aspects of the universe. And again, I can't believe there's so much content in the 100 gigs download, because it's 100 gigs worth of top-notch quality in my opinion. Because some people complained that the game was a little bit big, but I like for what they were able to give us. Now, when it comes to the gameplay, I think they add many aspects such as fully fleshed out skill trees for both Miles and Peter, and we also have the combined skill tree. Now here you can level up special abilities, you can level up some combos, and you can also get some aerial combos. So there's just a lot more diversity in the combat to make the game feel a little bit more fresh. Peter and the symbiote powers feel different, like you can feel the difference in the two playstyles, and that's something again I mentioned with, for example, The Last of Us. The difference between when you're playing as Abby and when you're playing as Ellie. Abby feels a lot more brute force and powerful, whereas, Ellie feels a lot more stealthy and tactical. I feel like with Miles and Peter, they were able to differentiate that. Like, you can really feel the difference between when you're playing as Peter and playing as Miles, because of course Peter has the symbiote in him. Now, I feel like the performance mode was good for me. I never saw any frame drops when I was using performance mode. I've only played in performance mode so far. I tried out the fidelity mode just to see it out a bit off stream again, and that was also good for me, but again, I prefer the higher frame rate, so I play in performance mode. Now, I did also experience some minor glitches. You will see these in the playthrough as well, which was where I got stuck in one of the missions It basically didn't want to load a specific cutscene for me, so it kind of locked me into a mission. But thankfully, it was nothing major. I just went to restart checkpoint, and it just basically reloaded the mission for me, so all was good to go. And that's the only glitch I've personally come across in my playthrough. If any more other glitches come through, they will be on record in my playthrough. You'll be able to see them, and I will be able to report if anything else popped up. But so far, like I mentioned, 31 hours worth of game time and one glitch, 0 crashes. It's been damn near perfect in terms of polishing. Now, on the graphics are A-tier quality for me. Very top-notch. I think you can see the fine details in the suits. And I think the point that stands out the most is the hair on the characters. Each scene in the world has a great texture. It feels like, putting a nice clean slate on New York as well. Another thing that's done very well in this game is the lighting. And I like the daylight and night cycle. You can really tell, again, the daylight and the dark spaces, the attention to detail in recreating New York City, the bustling streets, breathtaking skyline, and again, the different Spider-Man suits, the way they react to the environment, the way they react to the lighting, all of it looks so very lifelike, and I feel like swinging through New York City and this crafted open world is an experience in of itself. And again, the day-night cycle is dynamic, the weather effects add a layer of realism that I never thought possible in these Spider-Man games. Although I would agree with the gamer 2323 when he says that the Spider-Man Remastered still looks a better game than Spider-Man 2, which I would agree with because of some of the graphical changes. But I think with what we get in terms of performance, that trade-off ends up canceling itself out. Because again, like the fast travel system, for example, is almost instantaneous. There's no loading times. There's no load screens. Cough, cough, Starfield. It's like literally as soon as you fast travel to another location, it's 1 second. Less than 2 seconds, I would be shocked. And it immediately loads you in and you're swinging in that part of the city. And so the performance is really good. And that's why I even referenced Ratchet and Clank at the beginning of my review, because I haven't seen a game perform this well since, again, Ratchet and Clank Returnal and Horizon Forbidden West. These are the games so far that have made the most use of the PS5's hardware. Because again, Ragnarok was fantastic and felt amazing, but I feel like because Ragnarok was developed for both PS4 and PS5, we didn't see the best that we could have seen from Ragnarok, which is again an advantage that Spider-Man 2 has because it's only on the PS5, so they didn't have to worry about making it perform on the PS4. Now, Spider-Man 2 features a number of new enemies, such as Hunters, Sandman, the Symbiote, and classic robbers. Now, there's a boss for each of these enemies, except for, I think, the robbers. Some bosses will take you by surprise, and I think the amount of bosses in this game put a smile on my face because there was something new to challenge me almost at every corner. And multiple bosses have different phases where they get stronger, so I think, again, with gameplay, gamers will enjoy that. Because, again, this goes back to me mentioning the performance of the PlayStation 5. I think Spider-Man 2 was able to capture the ability of the PS5 perfectly. And it's exactly what we would expect. Because, again, I have no big complaints with the game. For me, I think it's a worthy Game of the Year challenger. I still think Baldur's Gate 3 will win Game of the Year, but Spider-Man 2 came in strong. It's been a very good year for gaming in 2023 so far. We've had so many amazing titles. And again, I've mentioned this before, whether you're a Nintendo fan, Xbox fan, PlayStation fan, whatever you are, there's a game for someone out there. There's a genre for someone out there. There's been so much good in the world of gaming in 2023. So it's good to see. And I think that's about it, because this is basically a 10 out of 10 game for me. Realistically a 9 out of 10 because nothing is perfect. But that being said, again, I have no major issues with the game. A lot of pros. The only con for me would be some of the graphical sacrifices that were made in order for the game to perform better. But like I said, I'm playing on performance mode, so maybe I see that more than maybe someone who was playing on fidelity, and they would, of course, have the better graphics and sacrifice the performance. So it's a bit of a fair trade-off. And then just the one glitch that I had with the side mission not loading. And I think a lot of people have also mentioned that there's been a lot of glitches, mainly in like the side missions, where people get stuck on something, or maybe they have to reload, or some buttons don't show up, or some dialogue doesn't come through. So I think those things will eventually get patched out, but at least they're not game breaking. That's what I love about it. And it's the same thing I mentioned with God of War Ragnarok, when I got stuck on one of the fights on God of War Ragnarok, and all I had to do was reload, and after beating the fight again, the game managed to progress me. So overall, I loved it, and I would very much recommend it. So to answer the question, should you play Spider-Man 2? It's a very, very, very strong yes. And just to summarize the points of my little video here, apologies for rambling. Basically, the storytelling is compelling. There's a lot of twists and turns in the game, and I think the emotional depth of the characters and their motivations are sincere. So again, overall, it leaves you enthralled in the outcome of everything. It's not one of the strongest story entries, but at least it's gone to a level where it can keep you invested just beyond the usual comic book fluff that we get from some of these the video game movie adaptations, that kind of thing. And again, the combat is once again improved over the previous titles. It adds a new layer of difficulty. The movement and traversal is fluid, and I find it quite cool. Be able to intertwine, during stealth and combat, switching between Peter and Miles. And again, not only this, but there are a few team-ups that come up in the game that you don't see coming. Again, I won't spoil anything for anyone. You'll come across them when you see them. Another point I mentioned was the boss fights. I think they surprised me a lot. They kind of exceeded my expectations because they were not only fluid and fleshed out, but they were extremely interactive and felt immersive depending on the boss that you were fighting. So I liked how there was a new variety of engaging villains. And last but not least, the city is graphically beautiful with lots of quality of life improvements. Again, I played it on performance mode with the ray tracing on, the VRR, and the frames were consistent for me. I never had a moment where I felt like the game was stuttering or where the game was struggling. But again, I did mention this is because I played on performance mode, so maybe it's a different story for people who played on fidelity mode and chose to prioritize the graphics. But basically, to summarize everything, it's another sequel knocked out the park by PlayStation Studios. I'm looking forward to Insomniac's next game. As we know, they've already announced they're working on Wolverine, so it'll be very interesting. And someone in the comments actually even mentioned this to me, that they would want to see a Venom spin-off as well, which I would agree to see. Maybe if we get like a small Venom title, the way Uncharted Lost Legacy or Spider-Man Miles Morales, where it's, it's a much smaller, condensed side story to the main story. But I'm very excited to see what they do with Wolverine, because if they knock Spider-Man out the park, Wolverine is a much more darker story. It's more violent, it's more gritty, and I want to see how Insomniac tackled that tone, because they've done like superhero, they've done the joyful hero with Ratchet and Clank, but they're yet to tackle like a gritty game, and I would love to actually see them do that with Wolverine. So again, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Apologies, I did drag it out and make it a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I hope you agree with my points. I hope you're enjoying the game. Let me know in the comments below, what are your impressions of the game? Did you buy the game? Did you skip it? What other games have you enjoyed in 2023 so far? And yeah, just let me know in the comments below all your thoughts and all the good things, all the bad things. Let's keep it engaged in the community. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this little video of mine. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay dangerous, stay blessed, and peace out.
Next up, booking.